let's talk about lighting our anime collection. So there is a lot of different ways to where you can add lighting to your anime collection or your collection in general. And I'm going to go over a few of those different options today, as well as showing you what one of my first ideas for that is. We're going to put it in display and we're going to see how it turns out. So before we begin, I do want to kind of show you what I'm dealing with here. So this shelf here, I'm kind of fine with. Yes, some of these in the back here are a little bit darker, but they are not bad by any means. The overhead lights are doing their job of lighting this very well. However, this shelf here, we're having a bit of a problem. So as you can see here, there's a lot of shadows down here. Shadows don't really work very well whenever it comes to an anime collection, and that's kind of what I'm dealing with here. I don't really like these shadows. However, the problem is with this is that this is a big shelf. It goes that way about 20 feet. So we can't really just put one light to do the whole thing. We need something to light up the entire collection, and we need it to be even. Well, I don't want to buy a bunch of lights for this section right yet. I'd like to try out some other ideas with my smaller sections, and if it don't work, well, then I didn't waste much money. So today we're going to put some in another part of my collection. This is part of my Funko Pop collection. Yes, it's a little barren, especially from your viewpoint right now. There's a hole here, a hole there, a hole up there, but work with me here. So here's my problem here, is that this shelf looks okay. Not really worried about that, but what I really don't like is this shelf and this shelf. Not really worried about this one because it's the bottom shelf. I have other ideas for that at a later date. But I really don't like this one in particular because, as you can see here, the light only comes back about 4 inches onto the shelf. I'll show you some examples and close-ups here. The light only comes back about 4 inches on this one, while this one comes back about 6 inches. So it's a bit more light to, you know, illuminate our figures from just the overhead lights. But what I'd like to do is I'd like to put in some lighting underneath here that will illuminate our figures even though they are not being lit up for this back 2/3 of our display. Now, many people, myself included, have always said that LED strips are good ideas, and I don't completely disagree. However, LED strips are a bit of a hit or miss. It depends. If you can really get good connections, if you're able to really hide all of those connecting wires, and if you have a really good connection to where the remote always works and you don't have any bulbs that go out, it works great. Not only that, but you need to make sure the adhesive works good enough and the surface is clean enough to where when you stick those on there that they won't begin to sag and have little droops in your LED strips after a few months. We don't want that because then some problem with your lighting is taking away from the fact that they're not looking at your collection, they're looking at the mistake in your lighting, and you don't want that. Now, something I used in my old anime room, and I will show you a clip of that right here, is I used something that they call puck lights. These are little lights that are about this size. I'll go ahead and get one out of the box here to show you, but these are wired together. They are wired better than the LED strips are, and they take up very little room. The only downside to this is that they are just this. Now, the good thing about these is that the wiring is a lot thicker. So you're not gonna have those same problems of it's gonna fail after a while, or the connections might not work good enough to turn on all the lights at once. You won't have that problem. There also is an alternative version of these to where they have adhesive on the back and they do not have these wires. I personally would not recommend those, and I will tell you why. So if you have this light stuck on that shelf right there, and I have my Ranma collection down here underneath it, if I have that sticking up there, and after, say, 6 months, that adhesive starts to maybe get a little bit warm. These never get super warm, but they do get warmer than normal. That warm temperature from that light starts to heat up just a little bit, and what happens is it kind of melts that adhesive just a little bit, and suddenly one night your little sticker will kind of peel off on the front, and bam! now it has landed sticky side up right onto your collection. Now, you might say, well, it's just a Funko Pop, it doesn't hurt it. But if I did this on my anime collection and say it landed on a really expensive figure, a $200–300 figure, well, then I have problems. Because now not only has a light with batteries landed on top of it, but that sticky adhesive on the back of it has also landed right on top of my figures. You might say, I've never had that happen. Well, I did. I had a NASCAR collection and that same thing happened. So that is something to be aware of. I personally would not recommend that. Always go for screw in if that is possible. Even on a shelf like this, a lot of times those little LED solo ones with the batteries in it, even those will have screws that can be put into the back of it. You'll see like 2 little holes like here. I recommend doing that over the adhesive. The adhesive can and will fail, and you're only setting yourself up for problems in the future. Highly recommend not going with that if there's any way you can get around it. It might be a little bit more expensive to do the screws, might be a little bit more time consuming, but you will thank me later. But now let's go ahead and get these out of here. Now, each of these packs, I bought 2 packs here, and each of them came with 3 lights. Now, what I would like to do before I go ahead and start screwing these in everywhere, is I'd like to put 2 of these up and just kind of plug them in, see how they work, and put 2 of them together and see how much light that emits. Does it have enough to light up this whole area, or will I need 3? I think 2 will do it, but I want to make sure before I start screwing them in, because I also have a second box if need be. So we can either do, my plan is to either do 3 and 3, or do 2, 2, and then just for the sake of having them, 2 up here as well. These also come with a bunch of little connectors here. Sometimes if these aren't quite long enough, they do sell little extenders online on Amazon. You can go check them out if you want to, or if you need them for your collection. So I'm gonna go ahead and plug these in, and I'm gonna see what kind of lighting we are working with, and then I'll get right back to you. Okay, so here's what we're working with. And this is it's close. So if I put it here, it does illuminate pretty much the entire thing, but it is kind of focusing. It's gonna have some shadows in the middle. It's gonna have some shadows down here at the end. If I were to put it more here and then put the next one right here along this shelf thing here, and then put the last one down there near the free run stuff on that end, I think we're gonna be working with something a little bit better. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. I think I am gonna use 3 of them for each shelf. That means we're only gonna be able to do 2 shelves today, but at least we'll know what we're working with. So how do you mount these things? Well, very easily here. You just grab onto the little ledge there and pull it right out. And then you have this to where you can just mount that, and then you just put it back in there whenever you're ready to hang it. So you do get a little bag of screws included, so all you will need is a screwdriver or a drill if you really wanted to. I normally think that it will screw into most types of wood on its own, but if you have something a little bit harder, maybe get a drill. Just be careful whenever you're doing that. Also, it's very important to know how far your lights are going to be apart. You do not want them too close to where you're going to have a bunch of slack in the middle. You also don't want them too far apart to where they won't reach. So always make sure you kind of put them up there and mark them somehow, or get a good idea of where they're going to go so you can get that exactly right. Because if you have slack in there, that's going to hang down into your collection and look bad. And there we go. This looks a lot better, and I like this quite a bit. There is no shadows here. The characters in the back are lit up very well. The characters in the front are lit up very well. Even these little blind bag things are lit up very well, even in the front here. This just makes the entire display look a little bit more alive. It makes it look more like a display and not just stuff put on a shelf. The little things like that can really improve your collection overall. Now you might notice I did take all of them down from up here because I ended up taking all of them down so that I could do this while it was on the ground, not doing it up. So I'm gonna go ahead and take everything down from up there and do this one. I'll be right back. And here we go. All right, so this is the best way to show it off to you, but you can see up there. If I was to make that any looser, you can see it's very tight there. I can't pull on it at all. It keeps that string nice and tight up against there. So we're sitting on the floor right now, But if we're standing at normal adult height, you can't see these wires. You can see a little puck, but that's it. So it actually makes it to where you can't see anything. Also, because it looks like it's coming from a source and not like one solid line, it actually feels a little bit more natural to the eyes. It's just a personal preference of mine. I actually prefer these over the strip lights, but like I said, that's all up to you, and you just need to be aware of the differences and what you prefer. But I will show you real quick. This is what it looks like without the lights on, so you can see there, it's a little bit dark, not showing off as much, and you turn the lights on, looks a lot better. I think it looks great. Now here is one thing that I will say. Now that I have it done, I do want to put them on this shelf as well. So I think when we go to the other side of the room, we have to do them there. I think I said that I wasn't going to do it on that shelf, but I think now to make it look even, we're going to do it on all of them except the top shelf. The top shelf actually has these lights right here, right there. So it is not like it's a big distance between a light source and that. So we're going to do these here as well because I just think it'll make it look more even. Now, when will that video come out? I have no idea, but I will be making a video about putting lights on the other side of the room as soon as I get around to that. So stay tuned, subscribe if you want to see them. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. I will try to reply to them if I can. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Hope this was informative, and I'll see you guys again soon. Bye.